realtor's name, by the way, who's in Greensboro.
Steal them all. It's fine. I've told you guys before when I worked in fundraising, the organization for all the college fundraisers, it was the Council for Advancement and Supportive Education case, but what people really used the acronym for was copy and steal everything. Just repurpose it for your own self. Anyways, good morning. It's Tuesday, and there's Dustin. Dustin, thanks for coming in. Hope you're doing great today.
Overachiever. No, that's awesome.
Today, our topic is, and I'm surrounded by bees too, so if something happens, just know that I pointed it out. The topic I wanted to talk about today, it came from Charles. It is dealing with expectations for what the process is going to look like when you're doing new construction versus resale. Just kind of the nuances of how that's different. And we've got Adam, who used to work for builders, who can chime in on that a little bit. Charles is going through a new construction right now, or talking about it. I know everybody probably to some degree has dealt with it, either with like a spec builder, one of these national or regional builders, or even smaller regional, like semi-custom builders. So I just wanted to kind of start the conversation and get it rolling a little bit and put it out there for everybody. What questions do you have? What experiences have you had dealing with new construction, and just the differences in the way it plays out? Do you think it would be beneficial to discuss for everybody? Who wants to go first?
You have to write 800T instead of a 2T. So don't write the whole thing and then someone tell you that you got to write the 800.
Well, that's a good point. That's not necessarily true, but you should look to see what form they want it in, because if anybody's written a contract for the townhouses over in Holly Ridge, they wanted a 2T.
I think 3/4 of my new construction have all wanted 2T. I think there was only one that wanted the other one.
Can you get? It's hard to hear you. Can you get a little closer or speak up a little? Sorry.
Are we close enough now?
Probably too close.
Social distancing. I think that 3/4 of my new construction have wanted 2T.
Have wanted a 2T. Yeah, I think honestly that frustrates me a little bit, because that document exists for a reason, not the 2T, but the 800 whatever that Dustin is referencing. There's a specific offer to purchase for new construction that hasn't started yet. And that is what should be used if you're dealing with a builder and they don't have their own paperwork. Now, it's become really obvious to me since starting this whole thing that in the Triangle, I've never had a builder, I won't say never, but I can't recall working with a builder except for like a custom builder, and then he had his own contract, which was like written up in Word,
Right.
that didn't use their own paperwork, and we never used the 2T or the 800 whatever. Brandon, in your experience, have you ever done a new construction where you used the 2T?
Yeah, I've done a builder contract. Most of the new construction I've done, the builders had their own. I've done a 2T with the new construction agenda. I've done both ways. I've had hit or miss experiences with new construction. There's a local builder in Durham Building Company. They have like 4 employees. They were fantastic. Everything was completely smooth. And then the bigger builders like Dan Ryan, it's a shit show. I mean, it's just a disgrace. So it's hit or miss. It's just like any other negotiating with any other agent, I think.
No, go ahead.
In regards to the paperwork, it's mostly going to be the builder paperwork, correct?
Up here, yeah, I believe so, yes.
And it seems like at the coast, these smaller builders almost never use their own documents. It's almost always the NC form. Are we on the same page for that? Am I understanding that right in your experience, guys?
The new construction I did in Castle Hayne, the builder Bostic had their own one that they did, and then H&H has their own as well. I just ask. I say, what do you want for paperwork? And normally they'll just say, I need ABC and XYZ about your client, and then I'll fill it out and send it over and on your merry way.
That's the ideal scenario, working with builders, that they have their own documents and all they want is you and your client's information, and then they populate everything into the documents
Yeah.
and then send it to everybody to review and sign.
Yeah.
But with some of these smaller regional builders, that's just not necessarily the case. So it's about understanding how to kind of proceed. And also, even though there are documents for specific things, it's always better just to ask the builder rep or listing agent what their normal standard operating procedure is. Just because it's really about making things simpler and not more difficult, even though, like I've said a couple of times, there are documents that are specific for that, even though folks don't always use them. Hal, the builders you work for, do they always have their own docs?
Well, it's interesting. For the most part, yes. You know, I worked for Terramore builders in Raleigh, and they all had their own stuff. But then I worked for a Royal Homes. It's more based in like Kernersville. He's got like neighborhoods out kind of where my in-laws are at, out in like the Oak Ridge area. But long story short, he would take any contract that would come. You know, I wrote up a standard offer to purchase with him, and that worked. So most of the bigger builders have their own lawyers and own paperwork. I would totally agree with that. But, by and large, I found that it can be easier with new construction because obviously you don't have to worry about inspection. Some people want to get an inspection, but they're usually quite simple and straightforward and pretty cosmetic, which is good. Folks don't have to worry about those long-term repair items. Those are just out the window, and then it just becomes more about trying to get in that correct price point. I will say, working on the builder's side of it, and I don't know if there's a misconception or not, I will say every builder I ever worked for was very big about reaching out and that outreach to buyers agents, not just to clients, obviously, but the buyers walking in the door and the full cooperation, all that. So kind of taking from that experience, I'm hoping to follow and ride on that here in Mebane once I kind of get going and see that reciprocity, if you will, from the local builders here, none of which I've worked with yet, but I'm hoping that they'll be happy to see me when I've got a good client. And once we do a deal, you know what I'm saying, then you bring them another one and it just kind of flows. So, I like working at times with builders. My biggest grief, I talked with Doug, was that they expect you to work every weekend and just not have a life. And when you got kids, that gets harder and harder when you want to have some flexibility. We know we all got to work on the weekends, but not every weekend. And a builder's like, well, your day's off for Monday and Tuesday, and that's it. And your kids are at school. So
Yeah,
honestly,
you had,
that's
like,
why I'm not working for a builder right now. I mean, I like the setup, and it's not that bad. You're just kind of waiting for people to come in the door. But I'm interested in being at it on the other side now, though, because when you've got a good client, then you're not dependent on selling that one house on that one street. You know what I'm saying? If you're a builder's agent, you got to sell those houses, and you get a good client in the door, and they're not going to buy from you. You kind of want to walk out the door and be like, hey, well, can I show you a house down the street? But if you're representing the builder, you obviously are excluded from doing that. So, it's nice being a free agent, if you will, and it's all about just finding the house and not just the house my builder has for you,
Well, that's a good point, especially about the inspections. Who has done home inspections for their new construction homes? What are your thoughts on that? What's your script when you bring that topic up to your buyers?
You absolutely need a home inspection for new construction because you're going to get a walkthrough from the builder, but everybody that you interface with this entire process works for the builder. They're beholden to the builder. Their paycheck depends on their relationship with the builder. So you need an independent arbiter to come in here and find out if there's any problems. And it does happen with new construction. People are human. They make mistakes.
Yes.
I would concur with what Brandon said, and I would also add that an inspection, you're basically buying peace of mind. Whereas we talk about the due diligence fee, you're buying time. I like to tell people with the inspection, whether it's a brand new house or a house that's 100 years old, you're buying that peace of mind. You're buying something that the integrity of it is good. And if not, we're going to get it fixed before you close on it. So, obviously with a brand new house, a lot of those major repair items that you'd find with roofs and flooring and subflooring and sub foundations, whatever, those don't come into play. But you can get into hangups over things like, a crack in a shower, or, a lot of that stuff can get taken care of in a punch list anyway. But I always recommend an inspection for the same reasons Brandon mentioned. These people are working ultimately for themselves, and if something gets missed, they're not there to catch it. You need somebody representing you that's going to catch those things. So I think it's worth the $300 to $500, whatever it is, just to make sure everything's good to go.
I told my
Doug,
client
you
last-
remember you remember on my house, the horrible and half-ass house in Peggy's Cove. When we were selling it, it turned out that the one of the I-beam joists was notched out, where they just took a hammer and like bam, bam, and that was never caught because we never did a home inspection when we bought it, just thinking, oh, the builder inspection's good, and our realtor at the time did not advise us to do so. So I'd say absolutely 100% you should do it.
I also told the one that I did, the last new construction I did, a lot of these new homes are going to come with a 1-year builder warranty or something. And if they don't feel like they want to pay for the inspection up front, I said, well, if you're not, obviously you always recommend an inspection, but if they choose not to get one, I say, okay, well, make sure you get it done before your warranty's up so that it can be addressed and, it's still under warranty. But 100%, I would always say get one. Even new builds can have stuff go wrong.
You guys covered all the bases. Thanks, Janine. I appreciate you chiming in there, because that's where I was going. If they're not, some people are very budget conscious and they don't see the need for spending the money to order an inspection on a brand new house. And I get that, and I'll agree. And I can say probably, a greater percentage of 50-50 of my new build clients have opted not to do a home inspection. Just two things. Always remind them that there's usually a 1-year builder warranty, and I would recommend that you add it to your calendar to order a home inspection at the beginning of month 11, so you can present the findings to them and they can address it before the end of the first year. And our team is happy to set that up for you. Also, to make sure they waive it on the professional services disclosure if they're not ordering one as part of the process, right?
In terms of timing for the inspection, don't we want to have that done before sheetrocking for everything?
There are a couple. You can do a pre-drywall, and then you just do kind of a regular inspection as it's almost complete.
But in terms of for them to hire an inspector to come in, does anybody have a recommendation on which time period would be best, or is it just based on
you just need to ask the builder rep when it's ready for a pre-drywall inspection?
I would recommend before sheetrock, because then if something's wrong with the wiring or the plumbing or electric, or if there's something you might want to do kind of separate, a lot of times if the electrician's there and it's easy and it's not going to really affect him, he'll maybe put an extra outlet in or do something HDMI. I've seen that. And he's there, he's got the tools, he don't care, So I don't really recommend people being at inspections, but there's various walkthroughs with builders. Typically the formal inspection, you wouldn't want them there, but at the same time, any type of walkthrough where the builder or the buyer really wants to see how it's going to look, I would recommend before the drywall goes up.
Your script for new construction clients needs to be, if you decide you'd like to have a home inspection or home inspections, this is how it plays out for new builds. There's typically 2 instead of 1 like a resale. We had the opportunity to do a pre-drywall, so after framing and our electrical and plumbing is done, we'll do it before they put the drywall up. You're going to typically have a walkthrough with the builder at that point anyways, because they're going to point out where all the electrical and all the gas lines are, so you know where it is behind the wall, so you don't start hanging pictures and puncture a gas line. And that's a great opportunity for your clients to take pictures of the walls without the drywall up. So that's the first time to recommend one if they want to do one, and April can set that up for you. And because it's the same inspector, they'll do the same thing. And then if they want to have one just before closing, like a week out from closing, before you do your builder walk. And the script for that is, for both of these, ask the builder rep, when is a good time to schedule these? Let me know where we are in the process about a week out, so we can get these set and scheduled and get our guy out there and give him a week's heads up or lead time to get out there and get it on the books. And then with the final inspection, like a typical one, you're going to want to do that before you do the walkthrough with the builder, which is typically a week or a couple of days before closing when you do like your blue tape walk. Does that make sense? Okay,
Yes.
cool. Also, back to the documents. The reason that the 800 doc is better than the 2T in new construction is, well, like I said before, it specifically states on the document that it's for construction that hasn't started or for spec homes. Although for homes that are in process, it's probably fine to use the 2T. If it hasn't started yet, you really should use that other document. Again, talk to the builder rep first and find out what they prefer to make the process easier. But honestly, looking out for your client, because there's nothing on the 2T about a builder deposit or anything like that. It's just standard due diligence and earnest money. And on that 800 doc, the new construction doc, there are items on there about earnest money, but also a builder deposit. And then there's also specific timelines and dollar amounts if there are deposits that are made at like benchmarks, like for upgrades or specific improvements above and beyond the base price of the property. So that's why it's there to outline that stuff and make sure everybody's in agreement, and also to protect both sides, but your client.
Yeah, the one that I'm doing right now that we're under contract for, I mean, I asked the lady at the office about it, and she was like, yeah, just send me an offer. And I was like, okay. Like, she's like, no, just tell me what price they want. And that was it. Like, I sent the offer, just, hey, $350 is what they want to pay. They want the fridge, and they want $4,000 in lender covers for cost.
Oh, that's great.
That was all I sent. And then they sent the whole DocuSign, 64 pages of builder docs.
Like with any deal, you're going to start by having the conversation and win over the other agent, right? Because that's your first goal after your client's picked a house, is to make the other agent want to work with you. Hey, have you ever worked with anybody on our team before? We're going to make it as easy as possible for you. Tell me what's going on. What are your clients looking for? When do they want to close? What document do you prefer to use? What's the easiest way to do this? Is it okay if I just give you the terms verbally so we can get the conversation rolling? I'll have paperwork to you in an hour. All of those statements can apply, so use them as applicable, right? It's just being prepared to have that conversation. I hope that everybody knows this at this point, and I'm pretty sure you all do. Never send an offer without talking to the agent first, or at least communicating to the agent.
So are you guys able to negotiate price on new construction in Raleigh?
Oh yeah.
No, not now.
Absolutely not. Not here. I mean, very little amount, maybe a small percentage or two here, but mostly we're negotiating for things like appliances, blinds, maybe a backyard fence. The inventory here is so low that, you know, there's 62 people a day moving to Wake County. So if you don't want it, the odds are somebody else is going to before too far along. And they're not going to mess their comps up just to make one sale. They're not going to bomb their upcoming sales for their neighborhood.
And as a buyer, you don't want them to do that because you're hurting your own equity if you negotiate the price down. So two things. They don't negotiate price because it affects what they can sell the rest of their builds for. And as a buyer, you don't want that, and you need to be in a position to explain that to people why they don't do it and why they will negotiate on things like closing costs and design credits and appliances or things like that.
Unless it's a spec home.
Like Brandon said, and it applies to some degree at this point in this area now too at the coast. They'll get another buyer.
Yeah.
They're not desperate. These people know what they're doing. They're building hundreds of homes a year. You're not going to paint them into a corner and be like, oh, I need $5,000. They don't give a shit about your $5,000 that you need.
I would say one thing, though. If there was ever a time that you could get a good deal for your clients on new construction, knowing this from several builders, it's an inventory home the last week of the year. If your people are willing to close between Christmas and New Year's, they can come in and get a super deal. Now, obviously, that's going to depend on your timing of your clients. A lot of people don't want to move and hassle. But I know from firsthand with multiple builders, when they got a spec house that they've been sitting on 2 or 3 months, they will start working on price to get that house sold because they want it on their numbers for that end of year, and also they want it off their plate. So, but Doug's right about that base price they want to keep locked in, so the whole street. But like you say, you can work with everything, the design, the interior stuff, and certainly closing costs and all that type of stuff, especially if they have their own preferred lender, which they do. But I would say if you want to get the best deal of new construction for your clients, get them to buy a house in the month of December, a spec house in the month of December. That's when you're really going to get a deal.
So you made a lot of good points that I want to touch on for everybody. So first of all, the difference in spec and actual building. Obviously, there's no incentive for a builder to discount a home that hasn't even started yet. And conversely, there's a huge reason for them to discount a home that's sitting there finished, that's been there for a while. So yes, with spec homes that are complete, that are sitting there, there's a good chance that maybe you can negotiate the price because they're trying to get it off the books. Just make sure when you're looking at days on market, that the days on market, if the days on market are 180, that 140 of those weren't under construction days, right? Make sure you know what you're dealing with. Also, to that point, dealing with the spec homes and being on the market, like Adam said, almost every builder, at least bigger builders and not small shops, are going to have a preferred attorney and preferred lender, right? Because at some way they're getting a kickback or a discount, or it just makes the process easier. I always recommend using the preferred attorney for new construction, okay? Because usually they're used to the paperwork, especially if it's different paperwork, and it just makes it easier. And my computer's about to die.
It streamlines the whole process. They're used to all
doesn't
the
matter because all the documents are the same anyways, and every attorney's going to do the same thing. It's not going to hurt your clients to use that. Where it could trip your clients up is being fooled, or not fooled might not be the wrong word, but misunderstanding what a lender that works with a builder could do. They might offer X amount of closing costs, but is the rate going to be market rate? Are they bumping the rate up to give you that closing cost? So I'll say, sure, talk to the builder or lender, but make sure you're comparing apples to apples, because usually the reason they give you that incentive with the extra closing cost is because they'll bump the rate up, and they're getting it from you one way or another. So talk to our lender and compare and contrast just to make sure that.
They'll also, obviously, a lot of first-time home builder programs with people that can't put down 20%, but then you got to pay PMI, and PMI is like setting money on fire. I never want clients, if I can help it. I mean, you got to have the 20%, but I'm not a fan of PMI. I'm not even going to get into it. But, builders, they'll offer 100%, all kinds of different stuff. But at the end of the day, your client can end up paying that, whatever, $100 and some bucks a month for nothing.
100%. I think we've covered a lot of kind of things to expect about new constructions. Anybody else have any other questions or points they want to make about new construction you think will be helpful for everybody? I think it was good to recap this. Darcy! Hi, Pup.
I've had a couple clients try to do the building process on their own without representation and then circle back around to me and be like, I've gotten nowhere. I'm like, told you so. So they feel like they can
So what you get for
keep
being
unrepresented, and you always have to reassure them that the builder represents the seller.
So great point, real quick. It's already built into the cost, your commission, so there's no benefit going in unrepresented. Adam, I'm not speaking for you, but I'm kind of speaking for on-site agents. They don't want to do all the work by themselves, and they're not making extra money if you come unrepresented, and it's not saving you money by coming unrepresented. So fucking be represented.
There
right?
is nothing better, more gold to an on-site agent than a qualified buyer with a good agent that walks in and is like, let's make a deal. That's their lifeblood. That's their gold, man.
Right.
So, yeah.
So to that point, make friends with on-site agents.
Yeah.
Try creating a relationship with an on-site agent. Go out and meet the on-site agents and say, hey, if you have somebody unrepresented, send them to me. I'll make the process easy for you. Let me take this work off your shoulder so you're not dealing with the builder and the buyer at the same time. How can I make your job easier? Now, legally, we can't give them a referral for doing that.
And
but
a lot of
their
times,
job easier, so build relationships.
a lot of times it's easier to cooperate with the new construction because it's more straightforward. and there's not as much to haggle over. If you've got a huge repair item compared to really just something like a crack in the floor or, you know, something in the wood, that spirit of cooperation I found can be a lot easier with a new construction, because again, that on-site agent wants to work with the buyer's agent as much as that buyer's agent wants to find that good one. So that spirit of cooperation is there if you can make it connect. And I've only seen, honestly, I mean, I've seen a couple of deals fall through over the years, but more of the deals I've seen fall through, honestly, have been resales than new construction, because it's been a repair item or, you know, obviously loan deals. But, you know, new construction is pretty straightforward a lot of the time, you know.
It's fantastic. It's like a gift when somebody wants new construction, especially if it's a spec that's already there. The other thing is it's not personal for the agent. We all know when agents take it personal, how that feels and how stupid that feels. So, you know, you're always reminding the other agent in the conversation, look, this is business. This is not personal. We're both trying to help our clients come to an agreement. This is always going to be a negotiation. So there's a way that everybody can win, right? It's not about your side winning versus my side or the opposite of that. The beauty in new construction is that really never comes up. It's like working. This might not be the best comparison because of how we kind of all feel about credit unions, but they have less skin in the game. There's no commission involved. You know, it's just their salary. Working with on-site agents, it's, you know, it's just business-like. There's nothing emotional about it. It's not their home. It's not a relationship that they've developed with a client.
It's more like buying a car.
Yes, that's a good point. Yep. All right, I'm at 4%. What else you got? Apparently, I forgot to plug in my laptop.
I have a tip just for like the newbies who haven't dealt with it. Just because over here on the coast, we deal with a lot of military and a lot of them aren't here. Make sure that you're going throughout the process and taking pictures. I have one right now where first off, the stone was in the wrong spot. And then I just went back out again and the door and the siding was wrong. So you don't want to wait till you get to the closing table and then realize all that stuff is wrong. So keep checking throughout the process.
Great point. Hell, Felicia's builder was building on the wrong lot, even though they said it wasn't. They clearly started the house on the wrong damn lot. So, yeah, it's good to kind of check in on that stuff. So there she is. So good point, Stephanie. Thank you for pointing that out. Drive by the site and take pictures. And hell, that's a great social post. Checking in on my client's new construction. Look at this baby coming out of the ground. We're in framing. Boom. Who do you know that wants a brand new house? 2 birds with 1 stone. Get out there and do it. Love everybody's post from yesterday, by the way. Isn't it fun? It looks like you're all having fun with it. It doesn't seem forced, at least yet. But yesterday was day 1. So we'll see how we look at the end of the month. Poor Angela, by the way, Nate.
I know, right? You're a slave driver.
Do you want to know? Listen, she didn't produce a good video of me doing the work. The one that I added on was the quality video.
I thought I was watching the 10 Commandments. I was waiting for somebody to start singing "Let My People Go" over there with her pushing the wheelbarrow.
No, but here's the
by
thing.
The way. You didn't get it. That was a fantastic reference to that movie.
Here's the thing. I know a lot of you said it looks great, but unfortunately, I think I'm about to have somebody else come in and rip the whole thing up because the guy who did it sucks, and he's about to not get paid and possibly go to court.
Sorry about
Oh, Nate.
that.
Yeah.
But to paraphrase Seinfeld, good luck with all of that.
Yeah.
Hope it goes well. All right. Before I die, so I can actually end the meeting, I'm going to let you people go. Have a great day. I'll start calls. I'm probably going to be a little late for the 10:30, Nate. But we've got a 30-minute window, so give me to like 1:45.
Because you got to charge your computer.
No, because I got to take my kids to my parents' house.
Yep. Adam, I love the Reservoir Dogs shirt. It's great.
Oh, is that what that is? Okay, great.
Bye, y'all.
Bye. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.
Make millions.